Well, hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. My name is Brandon, and welcome to this Free State Colorado interview. The mission of Free State Colorado is to promote a culture of liberty, freedom of the individual, and a free market. Today, I'm joined by Lucas Baumgartner, a young liberty activist who is working to spread the message to college campuses across our state. Now, Lucas, or Lou, is the Colorado State Chair of Young Americans for Liberty, or Yale as it's known, a national organization focused on electing liberty leaders and building a youth army for liberty across America's college campuses. Well, Lucas, I hope you are well, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. Wow, I've always wanted to say that. Um, but
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, awesome, Lucas. Well, hey, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background? Who are you?
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, as you might know, my name is Lucas or Lou Baumgartner. Um, I don't know how far back I should go, but I guess my I started in the liberty movement at a young age. Probably high school. My dad was a Gary Johnson supporter. I actually got me to Reddit r/libertarian, even though it's a dark hole now. It's a shadow of its former self, but actually it had some great resources, and it led me into people like Tom Woods and Dave Smith and the Mises Institute, and of course Young Americans for Liberty. Um, After that, I actually opened a libertarian like club in my high school. Got a lot of traction. Went to college, where I now go to the Colorado School of Mines, which, if you're not aware, is a small engineering college, about 6,000 students, of 70% male. So there's a lot of testosterone, maybe too much. And I opened a Yale chapter there. It was actually the first Yale chapter in Colorado. And uh, I don't know, about a year later, here I am as the state chair. So,
Well, that's awesome, man. Yeah, kudos for School of Mines. I tried going there. I went there for nearly 2 years. And, it wasn't for me, and not an uncommon story, for people not to finish graduating from School of Mines. But kudos to you, man. It's an awesome school, and it's going to get you in a great career, if you stick with it. So that's pretty cool. How long is that? How long ago did you start that Yale chapter? You said about a year ago.
yeah, I started it last year. I'm going into my junior year, and I started it in my sophomore year. I had one semester. The first, I started it to just lay the foundations, and with that came the foundations of Yale in Colorado, and a lot of the leadership came out here and started to establish more within just the entire state. And then, well, second semester I actually wasn't here because I was studying in Argentina, but I'm back now, and things are about to get very exciting.
Well, that's awesome. What kind of reception did you get at School of Mines? I mean, I can understand engineering, math, economics is kind of I know they kind of teach it there. Everybody kind of goes through those courses. So did you find like a pretty receptive audience? Because Mines is definitely not the typical like liberal arts college that so many people go to, like CU, CSU, where it's extremely liberal and there's a lot of socialist clubs. Mines is a little different. How was your experience like establishing the chapter? Did you find a lot of like people interested?
Oh yeah, definitely. It was very surprising. I mean, I had nothing to reference it beforehand, um, but we had some of the Yale leadership come out, and they were like, oh, they kept going on about how based my school was, necessarily around Second Amendment and firearms rights. My college is very receptive to that, and you might expect that in an engineering college of mostly white kids in in guys. So, but it's a great time. They're very receptive to the ideas of liberty, and it creates such a what's the word? Kind of a foundation, a kindling for a fire.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, especially yeah, I can imagine, Mines you'd have a pretty good audience of people there who'd be interested seeing all the woke stuff going on at other colleges. Being able to create like you said a based environment where
Yeah.
liberty and those kind of conversations could happen. So that's pretty sweet. So hey, you hinted a little bit about some big plans coming up, stuff happening here in Colorado. Well, what do you got planned?
Right. So, I mean, I have just personal plans as well, not well, professional personal plan as the state chair. Um, so right now, as it stands, we only have a few chapters on the ground, but because Yale, like I said, is very new to Colorado. It was only last year that Yale actually came to Colorado. Um, I'm actually the second state chair. The first one uh, held a position for a few months, and well, now that I'm of course back from South America in the land of hyperinflation, I'm coming back, and I'm gonna solve the hyperinflation here of 10%. Doing my best. Um, so I really want to start to grow, especially like my main goal is to grow all the chapters within Colorado, establish many new chapters, just get as many chapters as possible in the state, also in a variety of areas. So Denver, Colorado Springs, Fort Collins, obviously Golden, and Boulder if possible, but they're a little bit stingy.
Hey, liberty's the new counterculture, man. So these CU college kids, if the dominant ideology is socialism, they might be interested in rebelling by being a libertarian or focusing on guns and freedom.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. So currently, how many state or how many chapters do you have at other schools in Colorado? What are you looking at right now?
Right. Currently, it's at the Colorado School of Mines, and then a chapter at CSU in Fort Collins. And we have plans and people to open up chapters across the state right now. So once
Awesome.
the semester actually starts, that's when things are going to start rolling. I'm going to be driving everywhere, getting these chapters opened on the ground. And I really hope to make Colorado as a foundation of Yale, one of the strongest states where Yale is. I think it definitely has the potential, considering it's one of the freest states in the U.S. I can't forget who ranked it. I think it was like Cato or something, as much credibility as they give. Um, so, I mean, obviously, people are receptive to the ideas of liberty here, whether it's with drug legalization. We have some of the best gun laws for a blue state, especially. Taxes are low, a lot of financial freedom. So there's definitely prospects.
That's awesome. So has Yale had any effect in Colorado politics as of yet?
We have three state legislators, which is pretty average for, I would say, for many of the states. I mean, obviously, I think we have a lot in New Hampshire, the Free State, New Hampshire. But in Free State, Colorado, hopefully we can bump up those numbers to those New Hampshire numbers. So we have Dave Williams, Stephanie Luck, and Kim Ranson. Um, and those are our three legislators that are Yale endorsed. But obviously, those were legislators who got in without any state foundations of Yale at campuses in Colorado. So once we actually start building a base of students to actually support these candidates and to get excited and to participate, like I really do think there's huge potential to actually grow the numbers.
Awesome. Awesome. What do you think? I mean, do you think that like liberty's on the rise? Like, are people more receptive than they used to be to like these ideas of liberty and freedom?
I think so. I think definitely, especially after COVID, I think a lot of people are just absolutely fed up. I think that the you see a lot of woke stuff, and whether or not that might have to do with a lot of things, it's really waking a lot of people up to who the corporate media, Hollywood, and corporations really what side they're really on. So I mean, when you have people waking up with that, and then the COVID restrictions, I I think you are seeing a lot of people waking up, especially with the inflation. Now, actually, people's lives are being affected. They're paying higher prices every day for things that they didn't have to before. Gas is extremely expensive, especially in Colorado. and people are fed up with that. People are finally waking up to it, and no matter how many times Joe Biden blames Ukraine and Russia, we're all just looking at the amount of dollars printed over the last few years. It's pretty obvious.
Right. Right. Yeah. This information is more accessible to people than ever before. Right. Back in the day, 10, 20, even, 30 years ago, if you wanted to be exposed to like liberty ideology or liberty philosophy, you have to go track down some rare book and like order it out of a catalog or something, and now you have, it's everywhere. Right. I mean, like
Yeah.
the memes themselves have probably like reached a whole new generation of people that never was possible before the internet. Right. I mean, like you with Reddit, before Reddit, maybe you never would have found some of this liberty stuff, aside from your father being a Gary Johnson guy.
Right. As great as Gary Johnson is, and it's so funny that I have to thank a Reddit for getting me where I am today. Like nobody wants to thank a Reddit for that kind of stuff. But I mean, thanks Reddit. It's like the first book I ever read that was significant philosophically was actually For a New Liberty, and that was only because Reddit had listed it under a resource, For a New Liberty, Murray Rothbard. So it's the rabbit hole, I guess.
Heck yeah, buddy. That's awesome. Love it. Yeah, starting with Rothbard, you start going in deep right off the bat. I love it.
And also Fed Ron Paul, so I learned about the economics right away too. Before I even knew what the Fed was.
Yeah, well, and speaking of Ron Paul, that's kind of more like my generation's like liberty leader, somebody who inspired that generation. But like who Lucas is like the new generation, like liberty people. Who are people like looking towards these days? I know you mentioned Dave Smith, you mentioned Tom Woods. Like who else is like the people that are like the hot people in the liberty movement that are appealing to young people right now?
So Ron Paul would obviously be kind of like the previous generation, and in a way, he kind of still is the leader. Because when I talk to people who are at colleges, like they're still most receptive to Ron Paul. There's a lot of who are not familiar with Dave Smith or even like Spike Cohen because they might not have been on those spheres before. But I think with we're start seeing new leaders emerge, uh, growing, and people start showing their faces. And well, Ron Paul's, I love him, but he's getting old, and so there needs to be a new man to step up.
Right.
And it's
right.
not good. And it's not gonna be me, so don't expect that.
Well, right on, man. Well, hey, so I was on Yale's website, for people who don't know what about Yale and what they do or what kind of their missions are. I saw they have some different projects, different operations, some cool sounding names. One of the ones that stuck out to me is Project 1776. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. Project 1776 is it's a I guess it's a project geared towards our college side because Yale has kind of two sides. It's the college side, which deals with growing chapters and engaging students, and then the actual um, political side, where we actually get people elected. And of course, we connect and intertwine them to get people elected at the end of the day. But Project 7076, as a general summary, is an integration of what's called confrontational politics into college campuses, which, I mean, confrontational politics is kind of a hard definition itself. There's a good video by Mike Rothfield, I think his name is, not to be confused with Murray Rothbard. And I believe there's some stuff that might have been put out by the Leadership Institute as well. And basically, I guess the way to explain it is you need to confront. You need to be active. You need to be in their face. You need to be grassroots. And that's the only way for like a conservative or libertarian minority to actually come out on top is through it's political technology, it's political strategy. That's what I'm trying to say.
For sure. Yeah. You got to be bold, right? You got to separate yourself from the herd, be somebody who's a little bit louder. If you want it, right? In this day and age with so much saturation of content, you got to be a little bit louder, a little more interesting, or else people aren't going to pay attention. So, confronting them and really trying to engage them. I think you reminded me of like the Steven Crowder stuff, that changed my mind, that kind of thing. Just something that provokes people. I know that's not associated with Yale, but like, something that provokes people's minds, gets them excited, gets them interested, and kind of breaks through that normal, like, days that people are just like keeping to themselves and walking across campus. I mean, am I kind of on the right track there?
I mean, yeah, generally, like you do want to engage people, you want to get people active, you want to get people interested because the worst thing you could possibly do is, well, other than doing anything for the other side, is nothing at all. And if you're not actually engaged in trying to change it, well, then don't be surprised when tyranny takes over your country and eventually your home. So that's why we're actually really trying to fight back with confrontational politics, a strategy where we're trying to win as a political minority, which is tough because when we live in a democracy, whatever, the cards are stacked against us. 51% of the population are not hardcore libertarians. They're not Ron Paulers or ANCAPs or minarchists. They're people who want to grill, and they're people who probably want to collect a paycheck from the government every once in a while. So we need to use political strategy like that to convince these people that we're trying to fight on their side for their liberty. So that's the idea.
Cool. That's awesome. So say somebody, say I'm a college student, say I go back to school of mines and I'm a college student there and I go to one of your Yale meetings. What's the experience like? Like, why should a college person show up at a Yale meeting? Like, what are they going to get out of it?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, so at the Yale meetings, we talk a lot about, of course, what we're doing, what we recap what we did before, our plans going into the future, and we organize how to do those. Of course, we talk about a little about what's going on. We talk about political technology, actual political strategy. Maybe a little bit of the news, but you don't hear a lot about political strategy a lot. I went to the youth leadership school with the Leadership Institute, and they fed me a fire hose of information within 2 days. And I have the pleasure of sharing it with my chapter members now. Other than that, it's a really great place to actually hang out. You get some free pizza. You get to meet like-minded people. And one of my goals this semester in particular is to really bring a community of close people together, which is really tough when you're at an engineering school where everybody's kind of half depressed and walking around sad that they failed their physics exam.
Right? Stacks of books, like 4 hours of homework every night,
Right,
like
exactly.
lab work you got to
How
do.
do you get people to come when they got 3 labs in the next 2 hours? It's like what? But that's what we're doing. So
That's awesome, man. Yeah. I think community is huge, right? As in this post-COVID world, like people are so isolated for that time. And now it's like there's an opportunity to meet like-minded people, to meet people who believe in freedom, believe in liberty, to know you're not alone. There's people out there who see what's wrong with what's going on. They see that taxation is theft, the government slavery, and what do you do about it? It's easy to, like you said, it's easy to get depressed. It's easy just to bury yourself in your work and ignore the world. But the reality is, if you're not doing it, like you said, if you're not doing anything about it, then how can you complain? How can you be surprised when one day you wake up and you're thrown into a COVID camp, right?
right. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. So you're talking, so the Project 1776 is kind of like the campus side. And then I also saw on the website too, on the Yale website, Operation Win at the Door. And so is that different than the college campus side? What's Win at the Door?
Yeah, that's more of the political side. Other than the silly name, I think it's a really solid project. It's, I believe, to elect, I think, 250 Liberty legislators. So legislators who Ron Paul would be proud of, essentially. And if Ron Paul's proud of them, they're probably pretty good on the issues. And I've met a few of them, and I gotta say they are good, principled people. Yale has a really strict system through endorsing candidates, and they have to be principled. They can't cave to the establishment. Otherwise, they're going to lose all funding. So these people are they're the real deal. So Operation Win at the Door, you organize these youth student activists, and like the name says, you win at the door by door knocking, which surprisingly enough is the most, and for how annoying it is, it's the most effective political strategy to actually win elections. Statistics show. So that's what we do. We knock on doors, we annoy people, but we get the vote out.
Right on. Yeah, that's huge. I mean, that's huge, right? Like, what are we going to do about it? Like, just sit around, talking about it's one thing, but like getting out there and actually, walking around and talking to people, voters, right? And telling them what's going on and who they should support. I mean, that's huge. That's where the rubber meets the road, right? That's what we
Right.
do to get people elected. So that's awesome, man. Well, that's very exciting. I saw something too. There's something coming up, Revolution 2022 in Orlando, Florida. What's going on
Yes.
there? That's so we're recording this first, July 7th, or is that today? July 7th. So that's coming up here pretty soon. Could tell us a little bit about Revolution 2022.
Yeah. I got a whole pitch for this. I've been calling people nonstop for the last week just to talk about Revolution 2022, and that's how you know it's so awesome. Revolution 2022, of course, is one of the biggest liberty events of the year. It's going to feature some very big speakers like Dave Smith, Michael Malice, Spike Cohen, Brandon Herrera, the AK guy. I believe they just announced Tulsi Gabbard. And of course, the great Ron Paul is going to show up too. So the man who really made it all happen. But other than the speakers, you of course get connections to anybody at Yale. But I would say the most important part is they teach you how to be an effective activist. Like that's something you don't get at the conservative, what do you call them, conventions, I guess. Like TPUSA, I believe they're having their own thing, but they're not going to teach you how to be an effective activist. You're going to show up there, you're probably going to hear a few speakers, and then you're probably going to go home and then watch the world burn around you. But Revolution 2022, like the name says, it's supposed to be a stepping stone. It's a starting block for something different. It's a starting block for change, for a running start. You have these speakers, of course, and they're really inspiring all these young people. But then we also have actual talks and discussions, and we teach like members and people who come how to be an effective activist through some very important class. You learn about the confrontational model of politics, of course, the real nature of politics, a very good lecture. So we can actually affect change, because like at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. It's about making change. So August 4th through 6th, Orlando, Florida. There's still spots left. It's not too late.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Well, that's awesome, Lucas. I really appreciate all your time today. I really appreciate you talking to me. So how can people get involved? How can people support your efforts? How can college kids find a chapter or start a chapter? And then how can people who are not in college like me support you guys and really try and help you build this culture of liberty here in Colorado, this future of freedom? What can we do?
Right. So, I mean, if you're a college student in Colorado, you could probably just reach out to me, because I'm actually just supposed to be managing that stuff. My email, I haven't memorized it yet because it's quite new. Lucas.baumgartner at yaliberty.org. You can shoot me an email. We really want to make as many chapters as possible. We want to grow the base. We want to see Colorado become, we want to see Colorado, Free State Colorado, surpass the Free State New Hampshire in the rankings. Like that's what we want to see, because I live in Colorado and I don't live in New Hampshire. So reach out to me if you're not in Colorado. Not entirely sure why you're watching this, but maybe you just love Colorado politics. You could still reach out to me if you wanted, but you could also go onto the Yale website. There's a good contact page. How I made my chapter, there was no Colorado state chair, right? I was the guy who basically, I reached out to Yale on the website. I believe there was a contact page. I contacted them. They said, hey, you're basically the guy we've been looking for. So of course, reach out to Yale. And also, you need to put your money where your mouth is, of course, because Yale does need money. We need dues paying members. But I mean, membership is extraordinarily cheap. It's only $10 a month. No, sorry, a year. $10 a year. I set your expectations too high. Which is like 7% of an Amazon Prime subscription. And the main difference is that we don't spread like a woke agenda. So you'll get that from us and you'll actually see good change with your money. And I believe you get like a shirt too. I think you get a free shirt with it. So that's pretty dope.
Heck yeah, now
left. So yeah.
that's awesome. Now, can people become? Do you have to be a college student to become a member of Yale, to be like a dues paying member to support them?
No, you don't at all. You don't have to be a college student. You can be anybody. I call through plenty of older folks in my list, and they're nothing but grateful for all that we do. Sometimes I'll invite them to Rev, and they'll say, "I think I might be too old for Rev," and I say, "No one's too old for Rev. Ron Paul's like 80." So
that's
show
awesome.
up. But yeah, there's plenty of older folks who are donors to Yale, and we really need anybody because the change we're making doesn't affect just college students; it affects anybody in the U.S.
100%. That's the future, right? That's where it's going. You got to start young, and then you have a whole lifetime of Liberty leadership, right? So that's
Right.
awesome. So cool. Well, I'll put your your email in the description here and all the bottom part, so that people can reach out to you and figure out ways they can support your mission and help you achieve great things here in Colorado. So that's awesome. Lucas, anything else you want to leave us with today?
No, not necessarily, but I guess that covered it all. It's pretty good. But thank you.
Right on, man. Well, perfect. Well, awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time. Stay in touch. Let me know how I can help you. And let's work together to create a culture of liberty in Colorado and a future of freedom, man. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.